Hello and welcome to this week's weekly drive. And it's so exciting to be here because today we're going to be talking all about storytelling, weaving it into your content. So important to do so. So let's dive right on in because with your storytelling, you're going to engage your reader more. You're going to resonate with some of the issues that they are struggling with. And not only that, with your story, you will give them permission to take on these challenges and use your solutions to create change within them. So let's see what it is you have to do with this storytelling. And here we go. So, stories that stick. How do you make your stories stick? Well, we're going to use personal stories and we're going to use universal tales so that you can engage and draw in your reader. Let's see what it's saying today. So, when you use storytelling for your business growth, whether it's in your book or whether you're on stage or whether you're doing copy for articles or social media, you have to distinguish and find those stories that are impactful and compelling, something that's emotive, something that talks to your reader. We have our own unique way of telling stories. We look at the narrative that we are creating and make sure that it's using our golden thread throughout. We also want to tap into universal themes of love, of jealousy, of success, of letting go, of determination, of overcoming challenges. So these are all themes that's universal to all humans. And most importantly, we're going to look at the stories that you can craft into your business success. So, what is that impact of compelling stories? Well, when they are compelling, they are going to captivate attention. They're going to create the emotional connection. Just as I said, they'll think about their own stories, their own life, their own business. Oh my, this person's going through the exact same. They are struggling maybe to find more clients. They have lost their direction. They're becoming overwhelmed. So you have the story that you can share with them that illustrates that. When you tell a story that is impactful, it leaves a lasting impression. Take a moment and think about a story someone told you that you can still remember today. What is that story? I'm going to talk about a book in a moment because this book is full of it and it's the exact structure of a book that you need to include in yours. Talk about it in a moment. And of course, storytelling builds rapport and trust. And that's what we want to do as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as entrepreneurs. We want to engage in stories, in dialogue that people can trust because they come from a place of authenticity. So important to do that. So, why should we even bother putting stories in our business growth? After all, business has been going on for hundreds, if not thousands, millennia a year, whereby it's all about, well, I've got, let's go back a few thousand years. I've got this cow and I want your seeds. Let's exchange. There wasn't we didn't put personal story in during those times. But we evolve, we learn, we grow, we've changed, we've become global. We weren't just dealing with people in our villages and our towns, we now can work with people on that global stage, people of different cultures, of different backgrounds. So therefore, when we use the ancient art of storytelling, they recognize it. Because, as you know, we gathered round campfires and told stories years ago. Why do you think things like the brownies and scouts and guys, they all still use that powerful storytelling technique to grab our attention, to create bonds, and just to entertain us, if not scare us, depending on what it is that you're telling. So when you put your story, your heart and soul into your business and tell those stories, you are going to stand out from those who are not doing that. You're going to stand out as someone who's authentic, who's connected, who walks their talk, as I say. And that is priceless. But you let people into your life. You give them insights into what you think, the actions that you take. That's going to create those deeper connections too. You're going to create deeper. And the deeper you connect with people, the higher you go, the more they'll trust you, the more they'll come back, they'll review you, they'll be raving fans, they'll buy from you. And that's why story is so important. But remember, it's always got to be done with authenticity and with a very grateful and humble heart. And of course, you increase engagement. Telling stories increases your engagement. So, for example, when I tell my story of why I'm the I can woman, from childhood and raising money for bathroom children right through to being homeless with 4 children and still completing a degree, there are great stories that are engaging and people want to know more and ask questions. And what did you do and how did you do it? How did you feel? More importantly for me, what were the lessons that were learned? That's what's important. So we take these personal narratives and we weave them in. Now, here at Book Brilliance Publishing, we do something called the Golden Thread. And the Golden Thread allows you to identify those key life experiences. But as I've said already, and it leads on to the next point, is it's not the experiences that are important. Sure, they're universal and they'll create resonance. But what was the struggle? How did you relate to that? And what was the lessons that you learned from that? And that's what people want to know. What did you do? Well, I asked people for help. Do you know how difficult it is to ask people for help? And I think if you're a man, you might even find that trickier than a woman. I don't know. Maybe times have changed greater than I realise. But of course, when you tell those personal, deep stories that were anguish, pain, that maybe you were embarrassed about, maybe you felt shame, but you've overcome all those things. That is unique, and that is what will create authentic narrative. And no one else has your story. No one else has your story, your feelings, your exact point when all the stars aligned or were misaligned. We're all different. Sure, lots of people are divorced, for example, but each person's story about that divorce journey will be different. There'll be some similarities and there'll be differences, without a shadow of a doubt. So that's why you need to know what yours are. Case studies, personal narratives. Who have you worked with? Who have you helped? What other people has there been? What other authors is there? So like Napoleon Hill, like Stephen Bartlett, like Darren Hardy, and I've got his book here because I'm going to talk to you about this because it's so important. And you might have witnessed speakers who transformed their challenges into triumphs. It doesn't need to be your own story; it can be a universal story. It can be a story about other famous people. That's a great strategy to use because it will accelerate your authority, because you will position yourself exactly at the same position of them if you've got a similar story. And of course, we're human and we want to humanize ourselves. We're real people. And you can really strengthen your brand through your personal anecdotes and share these things. So personal story, other people's stories, universal story, thematic approach. So let me see what our next. So there's the universal themes. So love, loss, triumph, defeat, transformation, whatever it is that's within your business, what themes are part of what you do. Storytelling's big for me. Golden threads, massive. Metaphor, universal story, all of these. And universal themes. So love resonates across the world. Doesn't matter whether you're in Australia, you're in Greenland, you're in South America, you're in Europe. We all know that central theme of love, as well as loss, as well as winning. We know all these things. So we use them because we're on a global stage. And as an author at BBP, you will be on a global stage. 200 countries, 40,000 outlets, for sure. But the secret to a book that's impactful and brilliant is balancing. Are we getting to the time when I want to talk about him? Okay, I'm going to go back one. And I want to just dismiss what I've got on here. Let's actually stop sharing for a moment. I want to talk to you about this book here, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Now, I recommended this book only on Saturday, and the person bought it then and there. That is the power when people trust you. Can you imagine if it was your book and someone you knew read it and loved it, and then they're talking at another event with more entrepreneurs who need to know the content of your book, and they say, "Oh, I've got this book by the brilliant," okay, let's say Mrs. One name at the minute, Brenda Dempsey, Jamal Ahmed, Dr. Glenda Valen, and they go, "Oh, tell me about it." You tell them, and they're on their phone, then and there, and they buy that book from Amazon. Wow, brilliant. So let's look at what I've told you so far about personal story and universal story. So this book changed my life about, I don't know, 8 years ago or so. It really got me into becoming entrepreneurial and changing. I was already driven, but absolutely intensified it and focused it. So Darren Hardy is an American, and the very first chapter in this book, he tells a very personal story about his father. His father was a single parent, and he talked about his father's sense of discipline, and that discipline was instilled into him, for which he's eternally grateful. And that discipline was done through that winning mentality, very masculine mentality. And but he saw the success and he witnessed it. So it wasn't his dad telling him what to do. It was by showing him, like his father would be up at 5 o'clock in the morning in the gym, in the garage, and he would be awakened by the sound of his father and lifting the weights. So from the word go, a personal story. He's real, single parent. He's brought up. Wow, goodness, maybe not feeling sorry for him, but you're really resonating with him and thinking this is tough, this is a challenge, and here's a young kid that can do it. And you can see, so he talks about that. And one of the great things about his book is it's all got subheadings. So you have a page or two of a story, then you have more pages of that. So what he does is the first 3 or 4 pages is all about him and a bit of his story and his father. But then cleverly he uses other forms of story to make the point. So he's talking about the compound effect. So one of the stories he tells early on is the magic penny. So you can see it's a very short story, four short paragraphs, and he asks the reader, if I was to give you a penny and doubled it every day, or give you £3 million right now, what would you take? A lot of people would go, well, I'll have the £3 million, because they want instant gratification, which he talks about. The compound effect is about being in it for the long term. It's knowing that over time your success comes, and it'll come way beyond anything that you can think about. So we're only like a few pages in, and already he's on to his third type of story, personal story. Then he explains about the compound effect. Then he tells you a little anecdote about the magic penny. So if you take a penny and you double it every day for 31 days, on day 31, wait for it, I don't know if you've heard this before, but you will have £10,700,000, etc., etc. So here, straight away, he connects us with money, because we all want to be richer. Yes, richer in being a better person, but we also want to be financially richer. And he shows you how, and he is very, very focused, and that's part of his mission. He wants you to be the best version of yourself, but be prosperous. And then he goes on to talk about something that's really universal. 3 friends. We've all got friends. Friendship. He uses friendship to show attitude and mental strength to be disciplined. So it's 3 friends. So he has Larry, Scott, and Brad. And Larry is let me just get the names right, what happened. So Larry, he just plods along doing things. But Scott, he does little small things to make little differences. And then you've got Brad, who doesn't do anything. He buys a big TV, he watches cooking channels, he eats all the wrong food. So it goes on, and he humanizes the compound effect through these 3 characters. So if you don't do anything, nothing changes. If you take small positive steps, everything changes. But if you take negative changes, big things changes in a negative way. And that's the point in telling that story. So he's not coming from, well, if you do what I say, if you do this, and he's really getting into that art of storytelling. We're only on page 13, and now he's he uses about 4 or 5 pages, and then we're on to the next subheading, the ripple effect. So what he does, he's very clever. He tells you this generic story, then he takes one of them and goes deeper. So he uses a story and gives you more example of what Brad might do. And everything you do creates a ripple effect. So if you're positive, positivity goes out. If you're negative, you're spreading negativity. And this is what he wants to show you in the storytelling. So by the time we get to page 33, he's told about 12 different stories. He talks about Thanksgiving all year round, an attitude of gratitude. He could call it an attitude of gratitude, but he's American. He uses Thanksgiving. So he talks about that, and he tells you the reason why an attitude of gratitude. So he's married, and what he decided was, for a whole year, from one Thanksgiving to the next, he decided to get a notebook and write down all the things he loved about his wife when she did little gestures and little things. And he gave her that notebook. So he's shown that he's a very thoughtful person. It compounds. Can you imagine the effect it would have on your partner to give them a book where you've written beautiful things about them for a whole year? Beats a Rolls Royce, a diamond ring. It shows you care. If you've got money, you can go out and buy anything you like. But doing these really thoughtful things. So he's showing you the kind of person he is, telling these stories that's in his life. He also talks about finding your fight, going off course. We all heard the story about, if you go 1 degree off course in a plane, you'll end up in a totally different area. So it's about stick to the course, make the plan and stick to it. He talks about tracking. So one of the things he did, he lost a lot of money in his younger years. I've got to say he was a multimillionaire by the time he was 27. So he tells you these little stories about him as well. But he lost a lot of money in his early 20s. And he was at an event. And at that event, he heard someone speaking and they said, you need to track everything. So you might want to track your spending. If money's an issue, if food is an issue, track what you eat. If your health and fitness is an issue, track it. Track it for 30 days. He asks you to track it for 30 days, and you will wake up with a realization that you have to make some changes in your life. He talks about the microwave mentality. And the microwave mentality, as I said earlier, it's when we want it now. We want it now. So sometimes people come, I want to write a book and I want to sell 10,000 copies and I want to be selling this and I want to be in the stores and I want... All these things take time. If you're an unknown, it's harder. But if you think of celebrities, it's only the top, not even 1% of celebrities whose books are always in the stores, or the top writers. But you know what? It was possible for them, and they were unknown at once upon a time. So it's not that you don't dream big. Of course, I believe in audacious goals, just like Darren Hardy. But you need to know it takes time, it takes effort, it takes patience, it takes pumping the wheel, pumping the pump. And these are all the stories that he talks about in that. He gives away free resources, which he shows at the back, so that you can start to track all your things, and you can download these from the website, all sorts of things. So Dan Hardy is amazing. But I wanted to show, I could have shown a number of books, but I chose this book because it had a profound effect on me. And actually, it is one of the best books for using a whole range of story that he uses to get his points across. And that is what I want for you. But you've got to start somewhere. So he'd been in business 30 years before he gets to the compound effect. So he's got a lot of experience. You might, like me, I'm only 3.5 years into publishing, but I've got 30 years experience, but I'm ready for all of this now. I'm ready. So you'll be ready too, for sure. Let's go back to sharing the screen and let's just wrap up, because the proof's in the pudding. Go and buy the compound effect. It's not very dear, about a tenner or something, and read it and let me know what you think. So next one. So it's all about connecting with your audience, but you can only connect to your audience if you know who your audience are. And what are their pains, and what are their trials, and what are their triumphs, and what do they love, and where do they hang out? These are the things you have to know, and I can't impress on you enough that you need to know them. Because then when you share your story and the universal elements and the themes, you know that they are going to understand and get you, and they're going to lean in. They're going to lean in. They're going to listen. And then you can have discussions when you do these intimate events. You can have discussions, and they are more powerful than standing talking to 5,000 people, for sure. Because when you talk on that more intimate level, people will take action. So you might, in a room of 5,000, let's say you get 10% take action, but I can assure you, you'll get at least 50% in a small amount. And I know that because people come back time and time again to our events. So, of course, it's about connecting with them or listen to their story, really listening in to what they're saying, and listen for those points of connection that then you can use to your advantage and to help them. Remember, it's always a win-win-win situation that we're going for. So align your narratives with your business goals. What is your goal? What story will align with it? Find them. What is it? And then really know these stories inside and out. And become a storyteller. Now, if you don't think you're a storyteller today, that's okay. I'm not the best storyteller in the world. I listen to people who are way better than me, but it doesn't stop me doing it. Why? Because the more I do it, the better I'll become. And it depends on my audience. So become that storyteller. We tell stories all the time to our friends, and they listen to us. And then they engage and they go on and you recommend a book or you recommend a film or a movie, or it's the same thing, or a meal, whatever. And of course, you can leverage from that. So there we have it. Compound effect. Seek a community. So why not come and join the Book Brilliance Tribe on Facebook? We'll have news about that in the new year. And then participate. Engage. A great head teacher said to me once, Brenda, you only get out of something that which you're prepared to put in. So if you're not prepared to engage, you'll just think, oh, this group's not for me, because you're not putting anything in. So why should you get anything out? But the minute that you start putting something in, you will get something out. So no matter where I go in my life, and if you've known me and been in my company, you will know I will always ask questions. I will always engage. And sometimes I'm the only one. I don't care, because I know I'm making a difference to that person who's found the courage to stand up in front and talk and actually share their stories and share what their passion is and what their purpose is and what they believe in. So please, I do encourage you to engage with your tribe. And you're going to learn something for sure. So watch out for something special next week, because we've got Black Friday coming up. And if you're really serious about writing your book, then we do want to have a conversation, because I've got a fabulous offer so that you can become an author in 2024. So there we have it. Storytelling. Know your stories. Find your narrative. Find the universal stories. Find other famous people's stories that align with your own stories, and use these to elevate your own status, to raise and amplify your voice as an authority, and to resonate with those readers. And when you do that, your business will grow, because they'll become raving fans. They'll buy your programs, they'll attend your webinars, they'll come to your workshops, they'll invite you on their podcasts, all of these amazing things that's going to compound over time, just like Darren Hardy says in his book, The Compound Effect. So this is Brenda saying, be brilliant. Much love. Until next week, remember, do a bit and be brilliant.